what drew you to tell the story?
Oh, well, thank you for saying that. It's beautiful. I think I was drawn to the story for the obvious reasons, which is, it was this great idea, which is, a woman wants to have good sex for the first time in her life and she hires a sex worker, and that woman's Emma Thompson. As a director, I was just like, let's go. This is thrilling. And the idea that it was in one room, all of these things felt like real challenges, but excellent and interesting. But I guess I was also really drawn to the idea of intimacy and connection, and particularly professional intimacy, and how that might play out, and how we treat each other, and how much of it's performance, and when we're being honest and true, and that those two things can sit uncomfortably kind of next to each other. And also getting to sort of explore shame and our own feelings about our bodies and feelings about sex, that, we have this kind of, we're soaked in this culture that kind of tells us we should be ashamed of our bodies all the time. And it was really interesting to get rid of all of the rest of the stuff around filmmaking and just focus on two actors and the performance and explore some of those ideas.
Are you trying to say that those intimate moments are not all polka dots and moonbeams, so we don't wake up to a sunshine and a white, linen bed and breakfast in bed? Is that what you're trying to say? I mean, it's not all polka dots and moonbeams.
I mean, I love that this is a story that's not a romantic story, that it's not about happy ever after. Like, I'm really interested in that they have a significant connection with each other. It's a meaningful thing, but it's fleeting, and it should be fleeting because he's doing his job and she's trying to achieve something, And I think it's really important that not all stories about really important relationships are about this kind of forever marriage or whatever.
Yeah, and I think what rings so true about this film for me is there's just a level of authenticity that's so real. That kind of makes sense. Real authenticity. It's so real. But it's like this unspoken thing that we don't talk about. We avoid. We know is there, but you're just kicking the doors down. And you're like, all right, let's get our cards on the table from the female perspective and the male perspective. How do you bring in someone like Emma Thompson and Daryl into this project, knowing that you're going to be going into these type of topics?
Yeah, I think when you have an actor like Emma Thompson, you can see from afar that she's an interesting person and smart and obviously talented, but you never really know what someone like that will be like to work with. You always have a slight nervousness that, okay, what if she doesn't want to go there? What if there's all these limits and things that she's placing? When I met Emma, I knew that she was ready for something and that she loved this material. So I felt comforted. But it wasn't until we got into the rehearsal room the first day where over that week, I knew just what she was looking to tell the same story as me. And she sort of launched herself in with the gusto and was ready to do what I wanted. It was like, Emma, lay on the floor and Daryl's going to trace around your body. Great, let's do it. Okay, now we're revealing our scars to each other. Yeah, I'm into it. Like talking about, she just was very frank and very honest. And we created a kind of shared purpose and vision. And then it became very easy. It was like, we're just telling a story, and the touch and the bodies and the dialogue is all intimately involved and all as important as each other.
And it's also the idea of getting over one's fears, and instead of looking at sex as being a negative thing to a certain extent, it's about looking at it in a positive way, no matter your experiences, no matter how old you are. Mm-hmm. And I think in your position, if she had put up some barriers, if Daryl had put up some barriers, you probably would have had to go in a different direction. Am I right?
I think I was always really clear with them that, for instance, anytime they didn't want to do something, even if it was they'd already agreed, that they could say no to it. And even in the edit suite, it was like we have other material, so we don't have to show everything. But yeah, there is something really refreshing about being able to sort of, for instance, show nudity on screen just as a normal, ordinary thing, as well as a sexy, gorgeous thing, there's something about being able to do that, especially when you start a film with a very kind of we riff on a kind of romantic comedy idea. It feels like a very it's like, oh, here they are. They're doing this thing. He's playing a fantasy. She's awkward, that happens. But it's really nice to start with that and then sort of dismantle it to the very end until it's like, oh, here we are in front of a mirror. There's a body in front of me. That body is important to me because of what it does, not because of how it looks. Like really stripping away all that pretense. That was very enjoyable. Yeah, I don't know how it would have gone if they put up too many barriers differently.
Do you hope that men and women take from this film the idea that we should look at stripping away more pretense and be as authentic with one another as possible?
I really do hope that. I think that that Leo, the character, is trying very hard to be good at his job in our film, and he is pretty good at his job, actually. But also, I think when he kind of makes mistakes or drops a bit of the performance or kind of challenges her in certain ways, that's when it starts working between them, because you do have to go through the awkward bits to connect properly with somebody. And you know what it's like. Like we're always like, am I presenting exactly how I want to present? And in actual fact, what you like about people is not that bit. Like what you like about people is all their weirdness, I think, and like all their fucked upness. And so for me, it's like meeting each other properly, means letting go of a bit of the pretense. Yeah.
Could you imagine telling this story with any other actors than the two that you got? Because I can't envision two others doing what you pulled off in this film. And from my perspective, I would like to hear your take.
I find it hard to imagine anyone else in Emma's role. Because I looked at so many actors for Leo, that it felt like we could have gone in all these different directions and they would have been exciting, interesting movies. But I feel so happy that we got Daryl. I just feel like there's these layers of character and personality that he brings and physicality that were thrilling to work with. And there is something about the two of them. People call it chemistry, but it's not just sort of electricity. It's like something about the way they see each other and meet each other as actors that I think is really thrilling. So I do, yeah, it's like lightning, isn't it? When you go, oh, we got that. We found this thing between them and it works. And now it's hard to imagine anybody else doing it. Yeah.
I mean, but there's a certain sweetness to Daryl as Leo. And I think that's the important part of the equation for the film, in my opinion. In order for her to have this positive image that she clearly doesn't have, she has to have someone kind of take her on a journey.
Yeah.
And that's Leo. I mean, and Daryl pulls that off in spades. I can't imagine anyone being that person than the person that you got.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he has to be empathetic and generous and kind of really actually get into that and enjoy that part of it. But yeah, Daryl he's a big, very tall, he could be a very imposing kind of figure, but he isn't. He's really gentle and he's really generous. And that is a quality that doesn't exist all that often in people. And I actually really like seeing on screen that he feels reductive to say this, but he feels both masculine and feminine to me. And I want to see men on screen that don't always feel the same. And for me, Daryl doesn't feel the same as all the men that I see. Yeah.